Hold up for a second, because what's happening with Lil Wayne's oldest son has a lot of people asking questions they never thought they'd have to ask. He just turned 18, and instead of celebrating a future filled with endless opportunities, his life is heading in a direction that has fans genuinely concerned. We're talking about the first son of one of the greatest rappers to ever touch a microphone. A superstar who collected 5 Grammy Awards, sold well over 120 million records worldwide, and turned his talent into a global empire. By all accounts, his son should have walked through doors that most people could only dream of opening. He was expected to inherit every advantage imaginable, but that's not the story people are seeing unfold today. Instead, more and more eyes are landing on a young man whose choices seem to raise more questions than answers. The people surrounding him, the symbols he flashes, and the image he projects have sparked non-stop speculation online. Many are even claiming he has ties to gang culture, and that's exactly what makes this situation so difficult to understand. How does someone born into privilege, wealth, and influence end up trying to prove himself in places where he never should have needed to? That's the question everyone keeps coming back to. How does the son of Lil Wayne find himself walking such a controversial path, despite having access to opportunities that most people will never experience? What changed between growing up with every resource available and the reality people believe they're witnessing today? Somewhere along the way, the story took a turn almost nobody expected, and once you connect the pieces, it becomes impossible to ignore. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how Dwayne Carter III reached this point, why so many people are worried about the direction his life appears to be taking, and why this may be one chapter the family never wanted to become public. So with that said, let's get into it. His full name is Dwayne Michael Carter III, and he was born on October 22, 2008 at Christ Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. He is the first son of rap icon Lil Wayne and radio personality Sarah Vivon. And yes, that's exactly what makes this even more interesting. He carries almost the exact same name as his legendary father. By passing that name down, Dwayne Michael Carter Jr. also passed down a legacy that came with enormous expectations before his son had even taken his first breath. It wasn't just a name, it was history, pressure, and a reputation to live up to. Family members have long known him by the nickname Lil Tune. It's the kind of nickname that reflects love and family rather than fame. But when he eventually stepped into the public eye as an aspiring rapper, he introduced himself under a different name. He chose Lil Tune, and that was when people outside the family really started paying attention. Before we go any further, it's important to understand the role his mother played, because Sarah Vivon deserves far more recognition than she usually receives in conversations like this. She was never simply known as Lil Wayne's former partner. She built an impressive career in the media industry on her own. Throughout the years, she worked with iHeartMedia, SiriusXM, and Shade 45, earning respected positions in one of the toughest businesses to succeed in. She also co-hosted programs such as Streets is Watching Radio, a show recognized by hip-hop fans across the country. Beyond broadcasting, she has also dedicated time to community outreach through organizations including the Love Project 404 in Atlanta. This is the woman who raised Dwayne III away from constant public attention. She avoided putting every moment of his life in front of cameras, occasionally sharing small glimpses online while keeping the most important parts of his upbringing private. Lil Wayne revealed the news of his son's arrival in a way that only he could. During the 2008 BET Hip Hop Awards, while accepting the Lyricist of the Year award, he paused his speech to tell the audience that his son would soon be entering the world and asked everyone to keep him in their prayers. Just days later, on October 22, 2008, Dwayne Michael Carter III was born. Afterward, Wayne reportedly described his son as one of the greatest blessings of his life, second only to his daughter Regina. And that is where this remarkable story truly begins. Dwayne Carter III entered the world carrying one of the biggest last names in hip-hop. On one side, he had a mother determined to give him a normal, grounded upbringing, while on the other, his father was experiencing the most legendary stretch of his entire career. And that timing matters more than most people realize. The year 2008 wasn't just another chapter for Lil Wayne. It was the year the Carter III exploded onto the scene and completely reshaped the rap game. But before we dive into that success, there's something much more important to understand. Why did so many people online suddenly become convinced that something was wrong with this young man? Let's clear the air. There has never been a documented scandal involving Dwayne Carter III. No arrests, no verified gang connections, no major criminal incident that ever made legitimate headlines. What does exist is something arguably more powerful in today's world: online perception. Between 2024, 2025, and now into 2026, social media has shown time and time again that assumptions can spread much faster than confirmed facts. As Dwayne grew older and began appearing in videos online, many viewers noticed a tougher image, a more street-inspired style, and a level of confidence that looked very different from what they expected someone with his background to display. And for many people on the internet, that appearance alone became enough to create an entire narrative without any real evidence behind it. That's where this story becomes uncomfortable. The idea that Dwayne Carter III is living a sad life isn't built on proven facts about his personal life. It comes from public expectations. People assume that the son of a global superstar who sold more than 120 million records, won 5 Grammy Awards, collected 11 BET Awards, and built Young Money into one of hip-hop's most influential labels should automatically look, act, and live a certain way. The moment he stepped outside that picture, the internet started writing a story for him before he ever had the chance to tell his own. Now here's another important piece that deserves attention, because this part is backed by documented facts. In 2020, when Dwayne Carter III was only 12 years old, Lil Wayne released No Ceilings 3, his 17th mixtape and one of his biggest releases in years. The project featured major names, including Drake, Young Thug, Jay Jones, and Corey Gunz. But hidden among those appearances was a moment that many fans overlooked. On the track For the Love of Money, Dwayne Carter III officially appeared under the name Lil Tune. He was only 12 years old. Without a huge media rollout or major announcement, he earned an official feature on one of his father's projects. Not a background appearance, not a simple mention, a legitimate credited performance. And when you look at the history, the comparison almost writes itself. Lil Wayne himself was discovered by Birdman at just 11 years old, signed before turning 12, and recording music while most kids his age were still figuring out elementary school. Now, here was his own son stepping into music at nearly the exact same age, placing his name alongside one of the greatest catalogs in rap history. Those similarities were impossible for fans to ignore, and once the internet noticed, the comparisons began almost instantly. The first thing everyone wanted to know was simple. Did he sound anything like his father during Wayne's early years? Did he have that unmistakable cadence, that natural instinct, that same spark that made Lil Wayne a superstar? And maybe the biggest question of all, could he eventually carry the Carter legacy into the next generation? Those were understandable questions, but they were never fair. Why? Because Dwayne Carter III was only 12 years old, just 12. Yet people were already measuring him against a career his father spent more than 3 decades building. That's a comparison almost no young artist could survive. But here's the part many people overlook. Lil Tune wasn't just a kid who made one appearance on his father's project and disappeared from the spotlight. Over the years, Dwayne Carter III has continued working on his own sound and developing his identity as an artist. And according to people closest to the Carter family, they've watched that growth happen firsthand. In April 2025, Rolling Stone published an in-depth feature on Lil Wayne while covering the lead-up to the Carter VI. During that profile, the reporter spent time with Wayne and his sons, including Dwayne III, at an Atlanta Hawks game. What Wayne revealed during those conversations was incredibly telling. He didn't speak about his sons like they were simply experimenting with music. He spoke about them like an experienced artist mentoring the next generation. Wayne explained that seeing his children pursue music felt completely natural and never surprised him. He even described himself as someone whose entire life revolves around music, saying it would have been far more shocking if his sons had chosen a completely different path. He also reflected on watching them develop from the very beginning, saying their journey reminded him of his own early days before the world knew him as Lil Wayne. And this is where things become especially interesting. Wayne admitted that making comparisons is almost unavoidable. Whenever he watches his sons create, he sees parts of his younger self reflected back at him. He even told the journalist he'd be open to recording a collaborative album with his son someday, similar to the father and son energy behind the project he released with Birdman back in 2006. That's not something you casually throw into an interview. That's Lil Wayne publicly acknowledging that Dwayne III and his brothers are artists worthy of sharing a major project with. Now let's talk about Lil Tun's own musical direction, because this is where much of the conversation online begins. His style has been described as raw, aggressive, and heavily influenced by street culture, which is noticeably different from the polished, lyrical image many people automatically associate with the Carter name. And ironically, that difference is exactly what fueled so much speculation. When fans hear Carter, they instantly think of the Carter series, clever punchlines, technical wordplay, and elite lyricism. But Lil Tune seems to be carving out something much grittier and more stripped down. His music feels less like someone trying to recreate his father's blueprint, and more like someone determined to build his own lane from scratch. That contrast between expectation and reality is what continues driving the conversation surrounding him. His music doesn't always reflect the privileged upbringing people imagine he had. His image feels tougher than many expected. And on today's internet, where assumptions spread faster than facts, that difference quickly became its own headline. But here's what makes this story more complicated than people realize. Even without controversy, there's a real weight that comes with his situation. Imagine being born with the name Dwayne Carter, not a stage name you invented, but the legal name printed on your birth certificate, the exact same name carried by one of the most influential, celebrated, quoted, and imitated rappers the genre has ever seen. Now imagine trying to discover who you are at 17 or 18 years old while carrying that level of expectation everywhere you go. That's a challenge very few people could truly understand. Think about this for a second. Imagine someone listening to just half a minute of your music, then immediately opening your father's catalog instead of judging your work on its own. Imagine never being completely sure whether people support you because of your talent or simply because of the last name you were born with. That's a level of pressure very few people ever experience, and it's the kind of burden that doesn't show up in headlines or social media comments, but quietly follows almost every child born into the shadow of a legendary parent. Ironically, Lil Wayne has spoken about something similar before. Early in his career, he explained why he dropped the D from Dwayne and became simply Wayne. It wasn't just a branding decision. It came from not wanting to carry the full identity of a father who wasn't present in his life. He wanted to create his own path and build a name that belonged entirely to him. Now fast forward to the next generation. His oldest son carries that exact name, almost letter for letter, except now it's Dwayne Carter III, a name connected to a father who has been publicly supportive, proud, and involved throughout his life. The circumstances couldn't be more different, but the weight attached to that name still exists. It just shows up in a completely different way. And here's another piece that many people overlook. Dwayne Carter III isn't the only member of the Carter family chasing a music career. His younger brother, Neil, better known as Lil Novi, has also been building serious momentum. He released EPs in 2023, continued dropping singles throughout 2025, appeared on The Carter VI with the song Moolah Comin' In, collaborated with artists like Northwest, and has steadily built his own public profile while still only 16 years old. That means Dwayne III isn't only living under the shadow of his father's legendary career, he's also growing alongside brothers pursuing many of the same goals at the exact same time. The comparisons don't just come from fans online, they naturally exist within the family's own journey as well. And then there's Cameron, Lil Wayne's son with actress Lauren London. He also became part of The Carter VI, appearing on the track These Are the Days through a childhood recording Wayne had saved from around 2013 or 2014. 3 sons, 3 completely different personalities, 3 different musical styles, yet all of them carry the Carter name into the same industry. Now, before we go any further, it's important to understand why that name carries so much weight in the first place. You really can't understand the expectations surrounding this family until you understand everything Lil Wayne had to overcome himself. Wayne wasn't raised in luxury or privilege. He grew up in the Holly Grove neighborhood of uptown New Orleans' 17th Ward, far removed from the glamorous lifestyle people often associate with celebrity families today. His childhood was marked by poverty and an absent father. The struggles became so overwhelming that at just 12 years old, he survived what he later described as an attempt to take his own life. But instead of letting those hardships define him, he turned them into fuel and eventually became one of the most influential artists American music has ever produced. Cash Money Records signed him when he was only 11 years old. He first rose to fame as part of the Hot Boys alongside Juvenile, BG, and Turk, before launching an incredible solo career. The Carter arrived in 2004. The Carter II followed in 2005. Then came The Carter III in 2008, the very same year Dwayne Carter III was born, and everything changed. The album sold more than 1 million copies in its very first week, produced massive hits like A Milli and Lollipop, and finished the year as America's best-selling album after moving over 2.8 million copies before 2008 came to a close. In February 2009, Wayne dominated the Grammy Awards, winning 4 trophies in one night, including Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song, Best Rap Solo Performance, and Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group. By 2012, he had even surpassed Elvis Presley for the most entries by a male artist on the Billboard Hot 100, reaching an incredible 109 charted songs. Along the way, he founded Young Money Entertainment and helped launch the careers of Drake, Nicki Minaj, and Tyga, forever changing the future of hip-hop. Then, in June 2025, he added another chapter to that legendary legacy by releasing The Carter VI, his 14th studio album, which debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. And when you look at everything Wayne accomplished, you start to understand why every move made by his children is watched so closely. That is the legacy Dwayne Carter III is growing up beneath. Not simply the legacy of a wealthy or world-famous father, but the legacy of one of the most influential artists hip-hop has ever produced. The moment you carry the Carter name into a recording booth, you're not just making songs anymore. You're stepping into a world where your father already helped define an entire generation of rap music, and every verse you record will inevitably be measured against that history. Now, here's something people rarely stop to think about. The way the internet treats celebrity children follows the same pattern almost every single time. And once you recognize that pattern, this entire story starts to look very different. If a celebrity's child stays out of the spotlight, people assume they're hiding or ashamed. If they become successful, critics immediately dismiss their achievements as the result of privilege, If they try to separate themselves from their famous parent, they're accused of trying too hard or chasing attention. And if they embrace a tougher image or a more aggressive style, many instantly assume they're headed down a dangerous path. That's the impossible position celebrity kids often find themselves in. No matter what they choose, someone online is ready to turn it into a negative story. And in Dwayne III's case, the assumptions came from something surprisingly simple. It wasn't based on documented facts. It came from the difference between what people expected his life to look like and what they believed they were seeing online. Fans look at Lil Wayne's reported fortune, the luxury lifestyle, the private jets, the sold-out tours, and the success that surrounds him. Naturally, many imagine his children must have lived completely sheltered, polished, and untouched by any real-world struggles. So when Dwayne III appeared with a style that looked more raw, more street-inspired, and more like an ordinary teenager trying to build his own identity, many people assumed something had gone wrong. But if you separate internet speculation from the documented facts, the picture changes dramatically. There is actually very little evidence suggesting that his life has gone off the rails. In 2019, he attended the NBA All-Star Weekend alongside his father. Over the years, he has also appeared with Wayne at family celebrations and public events, including gatherings for his sister, Reginae. In April 2026, his mother, Sarah Vivon, proudly shared photos from his junior prom, writing that she stepped back during the evening and watched him grow into the respectful young man she had always prayed he would become. Dwayne himself also posted about the night, saying he enjoyed dressing sharp and had an amazing time. That's not the image of someone whose life is falling apart. It looks much more like a teenager growing into adulthood while carrying the enormous expectations attached to one of the biggest names in music. As Lil Tune, he continues refining his music, and those following his journey closely believe there's genuine potential still developing beneath the surface. What really separates Dwayne III from his brothers isn't talent. It isn't ambition either. More than anything, it's the pace and the strategy behind how he's approaching his career. His younger brother, Namil, performing as Lil Novi, has chosen a much more aggressive rollout. He released EPs in 2023, followed them with multiple singles throughout 2025, appeared on the Carter VI, and collaborated with Northwest in a move that generated widespread media attention. At only 16 years old, Lil Novi has made it clear that he wants to build his name in full public view. Dwayne III, on the other hand, has taken a noticeably different approach. Rather than constantly releasing music or chasing headlines, he seems focused on improving his craft before making a bigger move. And honestly, approach says a lot about the environment he was raised in. Sarah Vivon has consistently protected her son from unnecessary attention, choosing to let him grow at his own pace instead of pushing him into the spotlight before he was ready. That mindset is exactly how Sarah Vivon chose to raise her son. She wanted him to earn every opportunity instead of expecting doors to open simply because of his last name. And if you look at the way Dwayne III has approached music, that lesson is obvious. He isn't chasing every trend or flooding social media with constant releases just to stay visible. Instead, he has taken a quieter route, watching, learning, improving, and waiting until the timing feels right. That's a level of patience you don't often see in young artists today. One thing we know for certain is that Lil Wayne views all of his sons as part of the same musical future. When Rolling Stone profiled him in 2025, he never singled out one son as the favorite. He spoke about each of them with the same pride, describing them as young artists finding their own voices while he watched from the sidelines like a mentor guiding the next generation. He even publicly floated the idea of creating a collaborative project with his sons one day. And that's a much bigger statement than many people realize. Wayne has never been someone who casually attaches his name to music that doesn't matter to him. Every feature, every album, and every major move has always been deliberate. So the fact that he's openly considering bringing his sons into that legacy says everything about the confidence he has in what they're building. But here's what I think is the biggest takeaway from this entire conversation. The public reaction isn't really about Dwayne Carter III at all. It's a reflection of how modern audiences consume celebrity culture. People have become obsessed with the children of famous entertainers. Too often, they build complete narratives based on appearance alone, instead of waiting for facts. And when it comes to the children of successful Black artists, those assumptions can become even harsher, with people too quickly connecting a certain look or style to danger before understanding the actual person behind it. The reality is much simpler. A teenager with a tougher image isn't automatically living a dangerous life. A young rapper trying to build a career isn't automatically searching for validation in the wrong places. And someone growing up between two households while carrying one of the biggest names in hip-hop history isn't guaranteed to become exactly who strangers imagined he would be. Sometimes what people mistake for rebellion is simply a young person discovering his own identity. To me, that's the most overlooked part of this entire story. Dwayne Michael Carter III isn't making headlines because of documented scandals or criminal behavior. He's still a teenager, still finishing school, still surrounded by a mother who proudly celebrated milestones like his junior prom. He's still close to a father who brings him to major events, speaks highly of him in national interviews, and openly says watching his sons develop reminds him of his own beginnings. So where does the sad story actually come from? It's probably not the version social media wants people to believe. The real sadness isn't something cameras can capture. It's carrying a name you never chose while constantly wondering whether people appreciate your talent or simply the legacy attached to it. It's sitting across from one of the greatest rappers of all time, calling him Dad, and knowing that no matter how much work you put in, millions of people will search Lil Wayne's son before they ever search your actual name. That's a pressure almost impossible to explain. It's the kind of burden that never trends online because it exists quietly in the background while you're simply trying to become your own person. And maybe that's the biggest lesson this story leaves us with. Today's internet moves so fast that every week it demands either a hero or a villain. Celebrity children often become the easiest targets because people recognize their famous last names long before they recognize who they actually are. They're treated like extensions of their parents instead of individuals with lives still unfolding. So the moment one of them presents an image that doesn't perfectly match public expectations, the internet rushes to write the ending before the first chapter is even finished. But Dwayne Carter III's journey is only beginning. He has only recently turned 18 after being born on October 22, 2008. He recorded music alongside his father at just 12 years old, celebrated his junior prom in 2026, looking every bit like an ordinary teenager, has a mother who continues to support him with unconditional love, and a father who speaks about him with nothing but pride. He also has brothers walking similar paths, each creating their own identity at their own pace. Right now, he's somewhere between childhood and adulthood, somewhere between inheriting a legendary legacy and creating one of his own, somewhere between the name he was born with and the name he hopes the world will remember. And if there's one thing this story makes clear, it's that his journey hasn't reached its conclusion. In many ways, it's only just getting started.